Hey guys, Frank here, welcome back. Today's top AskReddit post is, what's the most ducked up thing you have ever read? The diary of my father who was suffering from schizophrenia. The diary clearly detailed how he wants to harm the entire family and then himself. I once read a real case about a man who kept his victim alive for weeks in a hidden basement, pretending to be their savior while actually being the kidnapper. The psychological manipulation was more disturbing than the violence itself. My dad's court papers when he was busted with kitty corn. Toy box killer transcript. I would challenge someone to find something as ducked up honestly. Edit, I'm very serious, this is not encouraging you to go read it. The torture and murder of Junko Furuta. Working with a special needs victim of child SA, I read that she used to cover herself with her own feces so that her abuser wouldn't SA her. There was a case I studied when in university. A young, 4 to 6-year-old refused to poop until she had an accident because it felt like penetration from when she was assaulted. Or the brutal removed of 8-year-old Na Young, she was assaulted so horrifically, vaginally, anally, and between her ears. She was left sitting up in a church bathroom to stop her intestines from falling out of her. I remember seeing something about a guy purposely infecting other people with his disease. The torture and murders of Junko Furuta, Kellyanne Bates, Sylvia Likens, and also the radiation death of Hisashi Uchi. Books-wise tender is the flesh. Open veins of Latin America. About a coup that took place and soldiers tossing babies onto bayonets like they were playing horseshoes. The guy who thought he had a poop obsession but didn't. My lab results. My ex was poisoning me with salicylic acid. Story of John Edward Jones and Nutty Putty Cave. A story about a woman who would dumpster dive for rotten meat with maggots to insert them inside herself to removed until they eventually started eating her alive. An appellate court case where a dude was photographing naked girls, not women, girls, in his bed and keeping it for his private collection, and the court ruled it wasn't CP because the trial court didn't establish that he did it for manual activity reasons. Do you actually want to know? I've spent a lot of time talking with victims of sexual abuse, particularly child sexual abuse. A lot of the stories have broad similarities. The one that really stood out was a woman who wrote that when men came over, her parents insisted that one of them be in the room to watch. Probably the letter Albert Fish wrote to the mother of the little girl he murdered and ate. Just absolutely horrific. I don't remember the guy's name, but it was a news story about a man based somewhere in Oceania, South Pacific that was running a live stream torture porn ring. I'm not going to get into the graphic details, but basically he was kidnapping children and live streaming various, horrendous acts of cruelty with these kids, one of them ending fatally, which is what ultimately broke the investigation. It turned into a big international case with viewers and partners in several different countries being arrested. I've tried to find that story again, but haven't been able to track it down. Update, actually found his name in this very thread, Peter Scully. I might have gotten some of the details wrong, but still. A post from our Justin mom where the OP described how her mother would beat her, usually with a belt, and how one time her mother did that while pregnant and she went so hard that she gave herself a miscarriage and blamed OP for killing their unborn sibling. Daisy's destruction. I genuinely wished I wasn't literate when reading about it. I still want to wash my eyes with steel wool. Baraska. Also, the Aerosmith song Janie's Got a Gun, just from the perspective that Steven Tyler married a 16-year-old girl, got her pregnant and forced an abortion because he was afraid of the drugs he was forcing on her would cause birth defects. I saw a post literally yesterday about a woman detailing how she caught her husband fingering their 5-year-old daughter, and I couldn't stop crying after reading it. She was making so many excuses for why she hasn't left yet, and I keep thinking of that poor girl. I once read about a guy who tried to set a new personal record for holding his breath underwater in a shark tank. Spoiler, he didn't make it. The Wikipedia plot summary of A Serbian Film. The story of Peter Scully and the video he made. The male prostitute who wrote about his hookup with Lindsey Graham, who referred to his genital warts as ladybugs. Correction, moles, not genital warts. The story still works. Reddit thread about a guy who had intimacy with his mom for years. It's so messed up, but I couldn't stop reading the AMA. And Rice of Interview with a Vampire wrote under the pen name AN. Rockalore the Sleeping Beauty novels. They are very ducked up even if you like BDSM erotica. The story on here about the woman who was upset about her husband not being invited to a family wedding cause he is kink where he pissed himself in front of people. Horrifying stuff. A book called Cows. If you know, you know. American Psycho made me put the book down a couple of times. Cows made me wonder what type of twisted person could even come up with the things they wrote and then happily publish them. Guts by Chuck Palahniuk or America Psycho by Ellis. The 120 Days of Sodom is pretty hard to beat. Impressive for something 250 years old. Apt Pupil by Stephen King is dark. I am a family lawyer. I have read the statements about the abuse of a 3-year-old girl. No, some parents are not worth living. Albert Fisher's letters to his victims' parents. Biopsy report confirming I have cancer. My little sister's diary after we lost her to anorexia and self-harm. It took 9 years for me to even start to be able to talk about it, let alone get therapy for it. Probably the guy in Cleveland who abducted girls in his basement and kept them there for years and abused them repeatedly. A Little Life, like WTF was even the point. I kept pushing through looking for there to be some small reprieve or some underlining theme of triumph through survival or whatever to latch onto, but no. Just awful BS happening all the way through. Jolly Rancher and the Swamps of Dagobah. My brother telling me he'd tap it. 120 Days of Sodom by the Marquis de Sade. Only got a few pages in, but it's pretty depraved. Some of the stuff Adam Lanza wrote in his digital journal. There's a book called He Came to Set the Captives Free. It's basically a Christian account of a woman who turned to Satanism and witnessed a bunch of rituals like skinning children alive and getting ducked by demons. After the book came out, she was outed as a fake and it was a propaganda ploy to turn people to Christianity. It was gross to see someone exploit so many people for the sake of religion. A seemingly cute How to Train Your Dragon fanfic that suddenly took a sharp left turn into bestiality and hiccup fucking toothless. Dear fucking God. That was actually good for me to read. The Berlin Zoo. It's about a girl who tries drugs, ends up homeless and lives at the Berlin Zoo. She watches her friend removed and die. It really made me realize that I was on the wrong life path. That wasn't good. A story about a father grooming and raping his daughter, and it was in a romance setting. Joseph Frisdal's story. I remember reading it in the news live as it unfolded. The story about the 2-year-old kid who either starved to death or died of dehydration because his father dropped dead of a heart attack and he couldn't figure out how to reach anything to properly feed or hydrate himself. I just saw a post that described white bubbly bacteria on a slice of meat as smearing like creamy mayonnaise. Read the Toy Box Killer transcript. By far the most upsetting thing you will read. I will be shocked if you can even get through all of it. Those were today's top comments, guys, interesting as always. Alright folks, this was Frank. Follow for more daily top comments from AskReddit.